Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What If War for Cybertron and Fall Cybertron characters were in TFP. Now, let's not waste any more time, and let's get started on the story. We cut to sometime later, where Ratchet informs the Autobots that he's able to find a way to track the Nemesis down, but he also detected the crashed Autobot ship. So, Optimus, Perceptor, and Ratchet go to investigate. When they board, they find out that the crew had died from a viral infection. But when the ship starts to shake, before Optimus gets the energon dripping on him from that dead carcass, Perceptor actually knocks into him, knocking both of them away, leading to nobody getting infected. So the bots leave. At base, the Autobots gather around as Ratchet and Perceptor introduce the new aerial bots with their new combiner upgrade and a fully repaired Jetfire. Soon they start to figure out what they should do with the location of the Nemesis, with Optimus deciding a mission to take down the ship as it might be the best chance to end the war once and for all without any more Autobot casualties. So, everyone is set up in a strike force and is assembled, with the flyers being outside the ship just in case things get messy in there. And Ratchet stays behind for when they need to escape. On the Nemesis, Barricade explains what he saw in the woods to Megatron, who says that Arachnid is more of a threat to the Autobots than them, but in time they will deal with her. Soon the Autobots manage to sneak aboard, but Perceptor detects two Autobot life signals on board. Optimus is curious, so him, Perceptor, and Bumblebee split off to investigate. RC runs into drag strip, with the two briefly fighting, causing the alarm to get set off. Optimus, Bumblebee, and Perceptor arrive to the cell block, where they see two Autobots locked up. When they open the cells, they are shocked, but glad to see them, as they are revealed to be Prowl and Springer. The two are glad to see them as well, with Prowl explaining that they were captured on Cybertron by Starscream and held prisoner on his ship before being transported to the Nemesis. But a few days earlier, they had heard about Wheeljack getting captured, so when he was escaping, they tried to get his attention, but he didn't hear them, or at the very least, he didn't investigate it. The two get their weapons back and head out with the others. Sideswipe leads a team to the engine core, and they make it, where he plants a bomb there before they head out. RC's team is surrounded, but thanks to the aerial bots firing on the ship from the outside, they get out. All the bots meet up, with Ratchet getting them out of there as the bomb goes off, taking down the ship. Springer and Prowl are welcomed back to the Autobots, with them getting their vehicle modes, Prowl scanning a police car, and Springer scanning a helicopter and a Doom buggy. At the Nemesis, Megatron is furious with what happened, but Starscream actually comes to the aid, saying they can fix it if they take the engine core out of his ship and put it into the Nemesis. The Nemesis will be able to fly again. So Megatron is a little bit less annoyed, so accepts it. Fowler would call the base up a few days later about the Space Telescope glass lens getting nabbed by the cons. Optimus says with the Nemesis down, they know the cons are using the ship from Cybertron to repair it. So the cons, no doubt, are split up to melt the ice and repair the Nemesis. So Optimus decides to split the Autobots up into two teams, one to take on the Nemesis and the other one to deal with the ice caps. The group to the Nemesis is led by RC and Springer, with Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Jetfire, and several Autotroopers aiding, while the other is led by Optimus, with Jazz, Bulkhead, Prowl, Silverbolt, Air Raid, Skydive, Fireflight, Slingshot, and many Autotroopers, while Perceptor and Ratchet stay behind to guard the base. Megatron looks over the melter with his Decepticons, Starscream, Thundercracker, Knockout, Breakdown, Demolisher, Blackout, and many Viacons, when Optimus team attacks. Bulkhead vs. Breakdown, Jazz vs. Thundercracker, Prowl vs. Starscream, the Aerobots vs. Demolisher and Blackout, and the Autotroopers vs. Viacons. And then, of course, Optimus vs. Megatron. Soundwave looks over the Nemesis' repairs, with Skywarp, Slipstream, Dragstrip, Dead End, Barricade Frenzy, Laserbeak, and many Viacons, but are attacked by RC's team. Bumblebee vs. Barricade, RC vs. Skywarp, Springer vs. Dead End and Dragstrip, Jetfire vs. Slipstream, the Autotroopers vs. Viacons, and Sideswipe versus Soundwave, Frenzy, and Laserbeak. Optimus's teams managed to hold their own, but Knockout decides to fire the lens beam at Jazz, burning him badly, which causes Silverbolt to realize to give the word, as the aerial bots form into Superion. Megatron is baffled, as he didn't think the Autobots had a combiner team here on Earth. Superion helps the Autobots by getting the upper hand. However, Megatron starts to face him, using the fact that they are an unexperienced combiner team to get the upper hand on them. But Optimus helps by distracting Megatron, allowing Superion to grab Megatron and throw him into the lens, destroying it, causing a massive explosion that damages him and Knockout. Meg still has enough strength to call the ship to fly away, so all the Decepticons reboard Starscream's ship and flee. Optimus thanks the aerial bots for the help, with Silverbolt saying anytime, sir. At the Nemesis, the bots would hold the line, but would retreat upon Bumblebee being injured from Barricade and Sideswipe taking heavy blasts from Soundwave. When Megatron returns to the Nemesis, he is furious at the fact the Autobots not only won, but that they have a new combiner team while they don't. But the Nemesis' repairs continue, and soon enough it will be repaired to take flight. At the Ark, Sideswipe, Bumblebee, and Jazz are put under medical care, but the bots see the day as a victory, with Superion gladly being welcomed as a new warrior to their roster. Some days later, Megatron and Knockout are fully repaired, but during the construction of the ship being repaired, Starscream sneaks away from the Nemesis and heads to where Megatron threw his Dark Energon shard at the undead army. Then he heads to the grave of Skyquake and revives him. When the Autobots arrive, he is able to actually withstand their shots, due to not having gone through his beating and cannon from Megatron, with him being even aided by the reanimated zombie Skyquake, who tanks several shots from the bots, but he would lose an arm after a few. So Starscream orders Skyquake to retreat, with Starscream dropping a grapple hook around Skyquake and flying away, since we never saw the undead be able to transform. That, plus he's missing a limb now, so it would be kind of hard to transform. Starscream would take him to an abandoned Energon mine, and would order Skyquake to remain there until the right time comes for him to be used. A few days later, Bulkhead would be fighting Breakdown after receiving an Energon signal, with Bulkhead losing the fight as in canon, but Breakdown is knocked out by Mech and taken. When the bots learn of it, Optimus takes a rescue team to rescue Breakdown, Prowl, RC, Ratchet, and Jetfire. When Megatron learns that Breakdown was captured, he actually decides to let him fend for himself, like in canon, with Thundercracker actually protesting this, but is shot down by Megatron, saying that he dares not to speak back to him. Deadend and Dragstrip want to save Breakdown, since he is a member of their team as well, but at that moment, Starscream actually approaches them and says that he might be able to help them out with that. The scene with Optimus' team with Sightless all goes the same as canon, and as well as Bulkhead saving Breakdown. But when they win, Starscream, Deadend, and Dragstrip arrive and tell Breakdown to kill Bulkhead, with Breakdown hesitantly agreeing like in canon, but Bulkhead wins the rematch as the other Autobots arrive. When Starscream and the three Stunticons are returning to the Nemesis, they are confronted by Thundercracker, who argues that they disobeyed Megatron's orders, and he should have them reported, but Starscream argues that they were saving one of their own, and that if he remembers correctly, he wanted to save Breakdown as well, but Megatron would never allow it. Thundercracker is puzzled by this, but backs down, as he does agree. But as Starscream starts to walk back to base, he does say one thing to Thundercracker, that there will be a time he must pick between him or Megatron. The episode Crisscross goes the same, since it's just an RC and Jack episode. Sometime later, Ratchet detects the Polarity Gauntlet, with RC, Bulkhead, and Prowl heading to it. Meg sends Breakdown, Dragstrip, and Blackout to retrieve it, with Breakdown talking to Dragstrip about what Starscream said. With Dragstrip actually saying that after the years they spent under Starscream, at least he doesn't hit as hard as Megatron when they get in trouble. When Miko is found out to have snuck along with the group, Prowl scolds her, and Bulkhead as well, with RC telling him to chill, but Prowl argues back that after spending years being captive, after making a mistake, he cannot let failure happen again to any of them. But before they could send her back, they would end up stumbling across the cons, as we see the 3 cons digging up the Polarity Gauntlet. However, Arachnid would end up running into them. With her trying to fight them, she takes down Dragstrip, webbing him up, but Breakdown and Blackout provide to be more of a challenge, with them being brutes and with Blackout having the ability to fly as well. When the bots arrive, they face off. Arachnid versus RC, Bulkhead versus Breakdown, and Prowl versus Blackout. Dragstrip gets free of the webs, and he ends up using the Polarity Gauntlet against RC and Bulkhead, who would attach, while Prowl finds himself actually attached to Arachnid, and Breakdown is actually attached with Blackout. The cons scold and yell at Dragstrip for being an idiot, with Dragstrip trying to figure out how to free his allies, but Prowl manages to shoot the Polarity Gauntlet out of his hand, and due to him still being agile, he manages to grab it, with Arachnid trying to move but can't as Prowl and Dragstrip fight over the Polarity Gauntlet. But eventually they manage to set it off to let everyone free. All of them then start to dogpile and fight for it, but when Blackout tries using his Blackout ability, he actually steps on the Polarity Gauntlet, causing it to be destroyed by him. A shockwave of polarity energy is created, but RC, Prowl, and Bulkhead find themselves alright, with them leaving. Ratchet is disappointed by the relic's destruction, but happy they all got out. At the Nemesis ruins, the 3 cons return, but not empty-handed, with Arachnid, who is attached to Dragstrip. Soon, the Autobots start to go on an investigation of an abandoned mine for Energon, as they detect some sources of it that might still remain inside. But, before they can even get too far in, they would be attacked by the zombie Skyquake, with the kids running out as the other 2 eventually take down Skyquake, killing him permanently. But the fight ends up causing a cave collapsing, with the kids running out just in time, and when they see that RC and Bulkhead are buried, they call the others to arrive. At the Nemesis, the core of the ship has finally been replaced, with Sergeant taking the moment to leave. He would arrive at the mine and see it's collapsed, so leaves, frustrated, but knows he has other options to get loyalists now, thanks to his earlier actions. At the Ark, Bonebee, Sideswipe, and Jazz are fully repaired, with them and Optimus heading to the mine and rescuing the humans, as well as save RC and Bulkhead, along with Optimus even managing to retrieve Skyquake's remains, and he buries them. And that is where we're going to leave things for right now. Thank you everyone for watching. Get ready for part 6, because there's going to be a really big event that goes on in there. Plus, I'm pretty sure part 6 will be the season 1 finale. Yeah, actually we will be going over the season 1 finale. So until then, see you next time.